Hi all, it's Donna here from Blind and Knitting. I hope you're all well and enjoying your day. So I've come to you from good old New Zealand. The All Blacks played last night and my partner's listening to the repeat. If you hear a whole lot of inappropriate words yelled out from the, it's down there watching the All Blacks. So I watched the haka, which is my favourite bit, and now I'm in here talking to you. Much rather talk about knitting than nothing wrong with watching the All Blacks. I mean, I'm a passionate supporter, but I'm with you. So Blind and Knitting. So Donna, New Zealand, it is the 7th of August. This is episode number 18. And it's almost spring, so it is the middle of August. Oh, it's the 7th of August, as I've said. So it's almost spring, which is really exciting. So I am skiting off. Look at those. Oh, and they're just glorious. I'm not sure if you can see them while we're chatting, but I'll try and get them in. So spring is starting to spring in New Zealand, which is really nice. I can't say that winter has been hideous. It's been quite wet, but my partner's a farmer, so he'll say it's been awful, and I mean, he's out in it, so of course it would be for him. It's nice to know that spring's on its way, though, I've got to say, but with winter and lots of rain, every sort of Friday, it's like, what's the weather forecast for the weekend? Rain. Oh, God, knitting time. So I've certainly had lots of opportunity to do some knitting. Welcome. So welcome to any new subscribers. Welcome back to any that have already subscribed. I'm lovely to see you all again to talk about knitting. Also sort of will add a little bit of mental health in there because I've been a social worker for over 35 years, really passionate about people's mental health and trying to, help them through, passionate about my community, and that will show through, I'm hoping, in what we talk about. So there'll be a little bit of mental health, but also I'm legally blind. I still haven't introduced you. We're on episode 18 and I really haven't introduced you to Kenzie, my guide dog, yet. And I'm sorry about that because she's quite lovable, and I must introduce her, and will. She's out watching the rugby because Auntie Heather's out there which is my partner's sister, and she adores her. So she's sitting right by Auntie Heather's foot watching the rugby. So at the moment she's busy being a Kiwi, supporting the All Blacks. And I know the score, so anyway, if you can't support them when they lose, you shouldn't be supporting them when they win. That's all there is to it. You've got to, good and bad. So knitting, what have I got on? So this is, excuse my attire, I know it's still winter, but sometimes just, you have to wear what you have to wear because of things. Any woman my age will understand. So I do have on my Bejeweled, which is a Libby Johnson pattern. Not sure if it's out for public yet. I think it's in her wardrobe toolbox, which is an education platform. But it's a lovely pattern. It was supposed to be 4-ply, and it's got beads on it. I'm not sure if you can see the beads on it, which was not easy for a blind person to do. But we've got there. I found some skills to manage it, and lace isn't my best friend either, but I'm determined to do these things, so I just try and find ways of managing them. But it's a lovely, lovely scarf. It's done in a New Zealand wool called, well, it's not New Zealand, but a wool I brought locally called Sublime, and it is a merino cashmere silk blend 8-ply. So it's super soft, smooth. It's perfect for a scarf because it's not scratchy. I've got a couple of 3 or 4 scarves this size, and I love them just to whip round, to just go for when I'm hot, but I just need something around my neck. So they're ideal, and you put your coat on and you're not wearing too much weight around your shoulders. So this size scarf is ideal. It's a pretty pattern. It's lace, cable, and, well, it's no needle cable. Oh, yes, there was cable needle. It's been a while since I knit this. I knit this last year, I think. And garter stitch. Yeah, that's what I'm wearing. So yeah, legally blind, as I said, with a guide dog. Now I can only see, I've got absolutely no vision. So if anyone knows eye diseases, mine's called retinitis pigmentosa, which is RP, and it means that the rods and cones in my eyes are dying from the outside in, and they're pretty much died right down to, I've just got a tiny wee, and it's getting a bit blurry, I have to say, circular vision, which is about slightly smaller than my palm of my hand. Thankfully, that allows me to be able to knit. I do a lot by instinct because I've been knitting since I was introduced at 4 by my dad, and my mother taught me as I got older, and so I've been doing it all my life. So a lot of it's through intuition and feel, thank goodness, because it means I'm able to keep up with something I'm really passionate about, which helps with my mental health. And little aids. I brought this along to show you. This is it's from the Blind Foundation, and it's a magnifying glass, and it's got a light on it. I don't know if that shows up very well. It's got a light on it. So I use this a lot for reading my pattern. Mostly I use my phone where I can spread it out. Obviously I can't show you because I'm typing on my phone, but I use this to read or to have, if I've dropped a stitch. The other day I was knitting and I dropped a stitch and I thought, oh, I can't see. So I got this out. Do you think I could pick the stitch up and hold this at the same time? So I really need to find one, and I have seen one. I think in New Zealand it's in a shop called J Cars, and it's a round magnifying glass with a lamp, and it's on a stand. Yeah, that's what I need, so that it can sit there and I can pick up my stitch under the magnifying glass. But this is quite a useful little tool. I don't know if you can buy them away from the Blind Foundation, but I'm sure you can. But that's a little tool that I use to help me knit. So yeah, you'll hear how I get on with my tales of how to manage sort of knitting with my sight challenges, etc. So I'm so super. I'll tell you what I'm really excited about. I'll turn that round a bit so I feel like I'm talking to you straight on. That's better, but sorry, you're going to miss out the pretty flowers. You've got the pretty pink shawl though. I have signed myself up for the first knitting retreat. I've never been to a knitting retreat, so I'm so excited. And it's in a beautiful place called Napier, I'm in the lower North Island of New Zealand, and Napier is up sort of halfway up the North Island, or 2/3 of the way up, and it's a beautiful coastal city, and I'm really looking forward to going and just be enveloped and surrounded by knitting fibre people talking the same language as me, because I often find when I talk about my knitting to my friends, they just switch off and have that look like I'm talking a completely different language, which I am. When you say, oh, this is my petite knits pearl Soho DK silk, BFL knitted on 8 mils, and it's like, whereas if you're going, or if you're a knitter, and I would say you would be if you're knitting this, you'll understand what I'm talking about. So it's not it's a language to us. But yeah, so Cairns, that's in 2 weeks' time, and we're going for 4 nights. So we're going to go Thursday, come back Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or 4 nights, yeah, and come back Sunday with a lovely friend of mine, Vicky, who comes to our knit group. Why knit? W-A-I knit. What W-A-I is because the region we live in is called the Wairarapa. So Y for Wairarapa, why knit, which seems to just sits nicely. Yeah, so one of the lovely ladies from my Y knit group is going, and of course I don't drive, so I've been lucky enough to be able to join her on this. So next podcast won't be in 2 weeks' time because I'll be at Cairn, but Knit August Nights, it is short. Cairn is K-A-N, Knit August Nights. It's an annual retreat, and I believe it's run by Skeins, which is a wool mill and store in New Zealand up in Napier, with a woman called Marie that does all the podcasting and that for skeins. I have knit several things in skeins. I haven't got anything today, I don't think, in skeins, but it's a lovely wool. So there'll be lots of indie dyers, lots of stores, lots of classes. I've taken 2 classes. One is spinning. It's something I'd like to do when I retire, but I'm not sure if I can do it or not. So I've booked in to do a spinning class. Even if I find I can't do it, at least I've given it a try. So that'll be intriguing. And I've booked in for another one that was find your design and develop your I can't remember the title, but I'll be full of it when I come back to our next podcast. So you'll hear all about the classes I've been to and I've been saving up because I've known I've been going for quite some time. So I've been chipping away at putting money aside so that I can buy lots of wool for my knitting program. And it's just as well because although I've got quite a big stash, a lot of it isn't actually garment amounts. It's sort of, leftovers and the odd skein that I've brought. Excuse me, I have to have a drink. Where I've put my water there. Getting a bit of a croaky voice, talking too much. So enough of that. So Kenzie, yes, I'm super excited about that. What else has been happening spring? Straight after Ken's is a very special birthday for me. I don't know if it's special or not. I'm not sure, but I'll be 60. So I'm not going to have a party. I thought I just want to do a nice dinner with my family, a nice close dinner with my family. I've got a son, daughter-in-law, and 2 beautiful grandchildren over in Aussie that I have not met. The children, well, I met one of them as a newborn, the older daughter, but I haven't met the grandchildren, the new grandchild as well. And so I would just like to take a trip over there, and I've got lots of family over there. So I love Darling Harbour in Sydney, so maybe book a night at Darling Harbour and have anyone who wants to turn up, New Zealand or Australia, just come and have dinner with me on Darling Harbour. So that's kind of what the plan is. But you know what happens when plans happen. Life happens while you're making plans, don't they? So that's probably my mental health tip for today is life does happen while you're making plans. It's important to make plans because we love to have something to look forward to and move towards and work towards. But we also have to be real and flexible, especially in this changing environment at the moment, about what we can do. So it's kind of just make plans but be prepared and flexible. So, and the other thing I did this last 2-3 weeks, I think it is, since I podcast, I babysit the grandchildren and I stayed the night. Their mum and dad went out for dinner, and so I crashed on the couch. Sounds terrible, but it's a 6'6" couch and it's super wide, so it's almost like a bed. So it was really comfortable. But I sat up and watched Grease with the grandkids, and they were singing away to all the songs. And so was I, because Grease came out in my, youth, and now these guys are watching it again and loving it. And it was just so nice. It was one of those movies where you didn't have to worry about what they... Oh, I can't get over my voice with the talking, sorry. You really didn't have to worry about what they were watching. They weren't going to expose to anything where you had to say, oh, hang on a minute. There was some... underlying sort of tones in there, but my grandies are 8 years old and above, but the music was just great and we all enjoyed it, and I just loved doing that with the grandchildren. So it's been a busy couple of weeks, 3 weeks. I can't even believe, I just feel like I've been on this treadmill, and I try not to lead my life like that. I try and lead my life with a little bit of pace and to it. But the last 3 weeks I have had ministry funding to deal with at work, which has been quite a drama. If anyone works with the ministry or deals with the ministry, I always say it's like a cotton wool wall. It looks all lovely and soft and fluffy, and and then all of a sudden there's a brick wall behind it. So that was a challenge. Stressful and busy times last few weeks, and so weekends I have just literally stayed home. Got home, either Thursday night or Friday night, depending on if I worked Fridays, I've been working Fridays because I've been so busy, and I've shut myself away in the weekends and just sat and knit and did the housework and just potted. Great for my mental health, because when you're busy during the week, I just can't, I can't be doing it. I struggle with fatigue, I get really tired, and I have to look after myself. So what am I wearing? I've done knitting. Where am I at with my knitting? So I've got no whips and no FOs today, and there's a reason for that. So I started knitting, if you remember, I'll find the name because I always struggled trying to say the name. Halakiki, I think it was called. There it is. Halakala, and it was by Julie Turgeman. And it was a vest. I haven't got the photo on me. I don't think. It was a vest. And if you remember rightly, I was saying last time I was knitting it, and I'd got quite a way round. It was a knit circular, and it was from bottom up, and it was a vest, and it had a panel down the side that was kind of like a crisscross, one stitched cable crisscross pattern all up it. And the pattern was incredibly hard to follow. My gut feeling is that it had been written in another language, and by the name and the name of the designer, I would say so. Halakala and the designer's name all sound foreign to me, and I think the pattern was transposed to English and not very well. I just really struggled, and I consider myself a very competent knitter. I just couldn't get into it. I couldn't follow the pattern properly. It was very confusing. I didn't enjoy knitting the pattern in the wool I was knitting. So if in doubt, rip it out, and it did. So it's gone. So no Halakala. So I thought, right, what am I going to knit with this wool? Because I still love the colour. It's a beautiful colour. It is a New Zealand wool. It's pure wool, and it's just a New Zealand brand. It's a New Zealand wool, but it's made in China. So it's from an Uncle Bill's, it's called, which is a huge cheap retail, like, I don't know what you have over there, but like Warehouse and Coles, that sort of thing. So it's cheap. It was under $5 a ball, and I brought 10 balls a long time ago. I've had them sitting there, and I love the colour. So I'll just want to show you the colour. She says, rattling around the bags, that's the colour. It's a rather pretty sort of lilac. Aren't we all colours today? Look at the yellow flowers, the pink and the lilac. Spring. Oh, here we'll put these three together. Look. Spring has sprung. Anyway, three lovely colours, three pastels. So I love the colour. I quite liked the wool. There's nothing particularly special about the wool. It's a tad toothy. It's a pure wool. That's why I thought it might make quite a good vest, because it would be worn outside of something. It's toothy, but I wouldn't call it really scratchy. It's just a nice pure wool. So I was watching a podcast the other day, and I love this guy. His name's Jonathan, and it's called Jonathan's Days. And Jonathan's an avid, he's a young guy in the UK, in England, and he's an avid knitter. And he had just finished for his boyfriend a jersey called Anchor for my boyfriend, Anchor, my boyfriend's Anchor, and it's by Petite Knits. And I thought, what a really unique pattern it was. And so he said that there was different versions, like there was a child's one and a woman's one and my boyfriend one. So I went and had a look and fell in love with the pattern. So Anchor, and it's by Petite Knits. I'm just going to make sure I get my facts right. And this is my size. It's Anchor my size, which is a long sleeve. And there is also a Summer Anchor short sleeve. This is, I'm not sure if I've got enough wool to do long sleeve. So this could be short sleeve, but it's definitely more of a winter. But I like, short sleeves is my jam, so that's cool. And then you can also do sweater, anchor, Anker, and you can do a sweater one, which is for children. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, there may be more, but there are 4 patterns from Petite Mitts, all anchor. And it's got this round yoke, which is the ribbed. Oh, it's just so cool. Oh, my phone telling me it didn't understand. So I love it. It's a little bobbly because this is all the wool that I unraveled. So, but I think that'll block out into nice smooth rib because it's not so smooth at the moment. But I know that's because of the thing. I'm well past the dividing for the sleeves, and so I'm just on the straight knit. And as I say, I'm not sure how long I'm going to make the sleeves, and that's going to be dependent on how much wool I've got left. So I'll finish the body, and then I'll try and keep a skein for each sleeve, and I'll just knit until I quite like just above my elbow. I think that would look quite nice. Yeah. So I'm, how I wasn't feeling the hella colour. I just wasn't feeling it every time I knit it. Oh, and the other thing I did is I put the hella colour onto some of that, what is that plastic tubing called that you put your needles on, and it was miles too big. Not it wasn't sort of 6 inches of positive ease. It was more like 15 plus inches. No. Anyway, I made the right decision because I am really happy with this, and you can see by how far I've got, because I've ripped that one and done this one, that I've really enjoyed it, and it's been super fast. It's on a 4mm, so it's not great big needles, but and it's a DK. Yeah, so that's coming along super nicely. Really happy with that. That's I've been working quite a bit on that, but because I'm not a monogamous knitter. Let's try saying that a few times. This is only water. I've been working on all of my things consistently, and I try, because I've been knitting a lot in the weekends recently because of middle of winter weather and needing a break. I've kind of, every Saturday morning I will think, right, just do a couple of hours on each thing, and then I like to have something that's just not thinking, easy knit in the evening, because so I can watch TV and when you start to get a bit tired. Yeah, and then in the afternoons I tend to concentrate on something that's a bit harder. So talking about a bit harder, my next whip is, it's a Caitlin Hunter whip called Birkin. I've shown this one before. That's it there. You don't see a lot of people making it. However, I was watching this morning, Cozy Knits, the Cozy Knits girls, the sisters, and I don't know their names, but the eldest sister was making the Birkin, which is a Caitlin Hunter. So it's a Birkin. I am doing it in Happy Go Knitty. I haven't got a label, I'm afraid. Happy Go Knitty. It's a merino silk, and this is my second garment I've made in this, because it is just divine. It's a 4-ply, and it's kind of like a Milo colour. And if anyone remembers, I couldn't cast on with it because the colour I couldn't with my sight. So a good friend of mine, Sandy, who also comes to our Y Knit group, she cast on for me. Thank you, Sandy. And so here we go. This is where I'm up to with this. It's coming along quite nicely. I'm going to do the colour work all the same colour. I'm not going to have different colour flowers and leaves and things. It's going to be just one colour, which is a Squishy McDo 4-ply wool that I brought just one from, Squishy McDo, which is another indie dyer in New Zealand. So Marty Knits and Squishy McDo are both New Zealand indie dyers. Stunning wools, both of them. I'm loving this, but it's not an easy knit. It's not a relaxing knit. I'm really, with my sight with this colour and colour work on 4-ply, but stubbornness will get me through. So I am just doing this when I'm in the mood for something where I don't mind really putting some concentration into it, which is usually like a Saturday, Sunday afternoon. Yeah, so I don't envisage, once I've got past the colour work, it'll be easy because it'll just be straight knitting. But I am enjoying doing it. I'm enjoying how it's coming out. So there we go. So that is Caitlin Hunter's Birkin. I've only ever seen it being knit twice in podcasts. So I'm not sure why, although I did read some of the reviews and a lot of them did have trouble. In my Japanese knot bag, if you haven't seen that, I'm going to make more of these because these are the best things ever. You just put your stuff in and put the long handle through the short handle, and yeah, I do like my Japanese knot bags. So those are my two, and I'm definitely a garment knitter. And so talking about garment knitting, one of the things that I have talked about a lot, and I think I talked about it in the last podcast, was what is it with this love of sock knitting? I've made a couple of pair of socks and I love wearing them. I get the beauty of wearing them. It's a beautiful feeling on your foot with pure wool socks and ones you've made yourself. But I can't say I'm definitely more of a garment knitter, jersey knitter. But I thought, right, I'll learn to do them in circular knitting with little needles. And I have said in the past, I felt so silly with my little needles. And I found a pattern called, just a nice simple pattern. It's called Vanilla Socks for 9-inch circular. So you can get vanilla socks that's actually what the pattern's called, Vanilla Socks for 9-inch circular. And you can get it for Vanilla Socks for Magic Loop. And another one, but I can't remember what that is. They are by a woman called Kay, who is the Crazy Sock Lady. And it's a really well-written pattern. Pattern's been great. And a long time ago, I brought some wool, and I've lost the band off it now, but it was called Gallipoli, and it is wool and, is it Palamine? Is that what it's called? It's like a plasticky nylon, which strengthens the wool, so perfect for socks. And it's I couldn't work out whether it was obviously self-striping. I'll hold it up there, but I've never knit with self-striping before, so I didn't really know what to expect. Didn't particularly like the colour, but the reason I brought it was because it's called Gallipoli for a reason. So every every ball that was sold, a percentage of that money would go towards servicemen, ANZAC, Australia New Zealand servicemen in the RSA. And my father was a returned serviceman, so I just felt that it was appropriate. I just walked past it, saw Gallipoli, saw what the ethos was about, thought, I don't know what these are going to look like. So I brought two. One is pink and one is more my colours, which is browns and creams and things. And I have to be honest and say I don't even know where that skein is. It'll be in one of my boxes or bins or baskets or something. It'll be somewhere around. So I started knitting. Yeah, it is definitely self-striping, but it's a big stripe. And it's got, so obviously there's not clean breaks, so you can see that it's, yeah, but, and I don't like the colours, but I have really enjoyed knitting it. So I finished one, here it is. It's very toothy wool because it's pure wool. But that's going to be grand for socks. As I say, I don't like the colours, but they quite look quite cool together, I have to say. And I'll wear them. There's no problem with that. I thoroughly enjoyed doing the toe. How easy was that? Because the socks I've knit in the past had a seam. They were knit on flat needles. The heel, well, I've knit plenty of booties, but I wouldn't say I enjoyed knitting it because of my sight. I found it quite hard, but now that I know what I'm doing, I will find it a lot easier. So yeah, one sock. The other sock, I did what somebody suggested once, so you don't get sock island where you just don't finish the second one. The minute I finished this, cast on the second one, and that did help me. Although somebody told me to knit the second one first, so I've done that too. So that's number 2, and this is number 1. And some of that mental, reverse psychology, isn't it? So I'm really I do like my stitch definition. Tiny, tiny needles, my golly. But so I do very much knit by feel. For the second sock, I dropped so many stitches and had to use this so much. But I'm getting better and better, and so that makes me feel good. I can do so much more by, and hey, the socks, if there's a couple of stitches knit together or a bit of a hiccup, no one's going to put, you'd have to lay on the ground and really inspect them, wouldn't you? Now, come on, you're not going to do that. But I did feel a bit silly with this. And as I said last podcast, I've discovered the love of car knitting. So my trip is 20 minutes in and 20 minutes out. And because I don't drive, I spend 20 minutes sitting there, yakking. But, it's 40 minutes a day that I could be doing something constructive. So I've discovered car knitting. So the one thing that sits beside my handbag on the kitchen table just before I go is my knitting. And I just car knit. I get taxis pick me up and I sit in the taxi and I knit. Yeah. So I've got to say, I think I can understand the love of sock knitting now. I'm not sure, how long that love will last, but I did buy myself another skein so that when I finish this I can start another pair. This is another self-striping. It's the one that is self-striping and looks like it's got Fair Isle in it as well, so that's intriguing. I've never knit like that before. So, and it's definitely a brighter, easier colour for me to see. So, that was one of the reasons I chose this one, because it's got colours I can see. I will definitely, because did I struggle casting that on. I nearly got my friend to do it again. So, that's my socks. I don't know if I'll ever be one of these ones that podcasts and shows 7 or 8 pairs of socks. And quite frankly, even when I watch podcasts and they do that, I get a little bored. So it's like, oh, socks again? And that's why I keep thinking, what is this love of socks? So I can't see myself ever being that person. I hope not anyway. Good luck. Obviously people like it. And I did buy the 52 Weeks of Socks book for motivation. And I've got a really greaty voice. Should take a job as an 0800 number. Hello. So I did find a pattern that I quite liked that is on my queue now, and I'm pretty sure I've got some wool in one of my bins that might do this. I'll have a look soon after I've done the other self-striping ones. And this is a petite knits, and it's called Sunday Socks. And I thought, oh yeah, I could do that, because I wear socks. I don't wear slippers. I wear socks in the house. And I think that's very much a blind thing. I feel a lot with my feet, like what texture, ground I'm on. well, in fact, my little toe tends to tell me if the furniture's in the right place or not. It's a siren on that. So I do use my feet a lot to feel when I'm walking around. So I wear socks, I don't wear slippers. But I love the thought of these. These just look so super snuggly and comfy. I can't remember what ply they are, but they're either a 10 or an Aran. I think they're an Aran weight, but that's on my to-do list, and I will keep you in the knowledge of in the go on where I'm at with it. But I've got that other self-striping one first that I want to give a go. I think while I'm making socks and while I've got this in my, in the forefront, I'll ensure that I make ones that I just really, really love, so that I don't lose my mojo, because I do like wearing pure socks, homemade socks. So that's my socks, and that's kind of been my car knitting. And my other car knitting is, and I can't say I've done a great deal more. Well, I probably have actually. What I should do, I haven't gotten here, but I will do this, is my half and half wrap. So I talked about this last time, and I talked about the fact that I'm pretty sure. Haven't knit on this for a couple of days, so it's a bit caught up. I was going to just do it in the plain cream, have that as my first half of my half and half wrap, and that is my second. But I weighed my wools and realised that I didn't have enough wool to do one half cream, one half in this pretty fawny brown. So what I'm going to do, and I've said this last time, so I'm sorry I'm repeating myself, but that's what happens when you don't have an FO. You're just going to hear where I'm at with these. Is I'm going to do half stripes in the brown and cream for the first half, and the second half of the half and half wrap, I'm going to do a colour, possibly pink. Don't know. What do you think? Because pink is a colour that I love, but I also quite like the idea of a nice aqua, or a sort of a minty green. Nice minty green would be nice. I might be able to see if there's anything it can. It's a 3-ply 100% wool, so it's going to be a bit of a challenge. It may be that I have to dye, find some 3-ply 100% natural wool and dye it in a colour I want. Anyway, I'm not in any hurry for this. It is just one of my, it's fantastic for not thinking knitting. It's just brain dead knitting. And I love that. Great car knitting. If there's a bit of it, so that might be a bit of a challenge with vehicles. It's not so bad if it's a long trip, but if it's a short trip, you don't really want to be pulling out a whole shawl. That's a free pattern by Pearl Soho. Everybody's knitting it. It's very popular, and people that have knit it often knit more than one. They go on and knit more, so it's obviously addictive. But I'm not in any rush for that. That just sits there. I would like to know that I'm doing progress in it, and I will put a progress marker in it. Hopefully I'll remember when I finished today, so that we can follow my progress on that one. Those are my main knits. They are my main knits. So I've got my Anchor jersey by Petite Knits. Sorry, I've got a Petite Knits theme going on here. That was an interesting thing, finding out that she had the same pattern for 4 different, so one for children, one for women short sleeve, one for women long sleeve, one for men, all sold separately. I thought that is a great marketing strategy. When you put all the patterns all in one, you're only selling one pattern, aren't you? Whereas this way, she's got 4 patterns. So well done, Petite Knits. Very cleverly marketed. I have already purchased the Anchor Short, which is done in not in a wool. It's a cotton blend, and I haven't read any further to say more than that. I'm guessing on what Jonathan said on Jonathan's Days. Great podcast to follow if you do want to watch another different podcast, is because he's knit it for himself and his boyfriend, obviously men are a different shape. So, petite knits have designed that pattern for the different shapes, and children and women, obviously. But well done, Petite Knits, for selling 4 different patterns, all of the same style. I've just got this feeling I'll knit it again, and maybe again, because I really did enjoy. It's funny because I don't enjoy rib, but as somebody said, stripes go really fast, and although this is rib stripes and not different colours, I have seen one done where they've done each of those panels of stripes a different colour. Don't know what that would look like. I'd have to go back and have another look on Ravelry, but it is a pattern that a lot of people have knit. I'm a little worried about my Caitlin Hunter Birkin, because when you don't see a lot of people knitting them on podcasts, and I watch a lot of knitting podcasts, the only other person I've seen knit it is another great podcast as well, Knit Inc. It's a mother and daughter, and one of their first podcasts, I've been podcasting for a while, so I think it might have been number 3 or 4, the mum started the Birkin, and I've watched since then, and it's never come up as a finished garment, and I just thought, oh, that's not a good sign. Anyway, I'll see how we go. It's incredibly expensive wool. It's quite challenging for me to knit. It's not a difficult pattern. It is well written. Caitlin Hunter is a great pattern writer. It is my site challenges. That is the challenge. So a better jolly will work. We'll see how we go. So I'll just check and see where I'm at. Mental health, one of the things and this came in, it wasn't a podcast, it was on Instagram, and I'm going to use this saying time and time again, I'm sure, especially in my workshops and especially for myself, because I'm pretty sure I've said recently in a podcast, when I had major surgery and then I got COVID, and because I used to be a walker, a lot of walking, I haven't done any walking. Well, I started getting back into it. I've done once a day, I'll do a 10-minute, 15-minute walk a couple of times a day. That's to toilet Kenzie, but still it's a walk. And last weekend I did a 20-minute walk. So I'm getting back into it, but by golly, I've lost fitness. But I'm just not enjoying it. But I used to enjoy it, so it'll come back. And there's lots of reasons for that, which I might go into today. But I love this, and it is, do what you don't want to do so that you can do what you do want to do. And I thought, wow, yeah. So sometimes we have to just do the things we don't want to do, like going for a walk, an exercise walk, not a pleasure walk, so that we can keep fit to play with our grandchildren, or enjoy a beautiful day's walk out in the bush. I really enjoyed. That just resonated with me. It just sat there, and I thought, yep. Sometimes you have to do what you don't want to do so that you can do what you want to do. It's a bit like, I love mashed potatoes, but I hate peeling potatoes. Well, you've got to do what you don't want to do so that you can get what you want. Yeah. Anyway, did love that. I think the only other thing is, and it's a purchase, but my sister-in-law bought it for me from an op shop, is this. I've been trying to get a pie glass dish. We got one, but it was too big for my microwave, so that I can start dyeing wool. I told you a long time ago that I did a dyeing workshop with Margaret from Squishy McDo's. It's a New Zealand indie dyer, and I've brought, I think you call it naked wool, naked hanks. It's natural, ready to dye hanks of wool from Skeins. They had a massive sale. It was 50 and 70% off, so I bought 10 hanks of 4-ply, and it's merino nylon, and I bought 10 hanks of 10-ply, which cost me nearly 70% and free shipping less. So it was, I think they were $8 a hank or something. So it's, when I think that could quite easily do 3, possibly 6 garments, definitely 6 garments. That's good value for money. So I'm all ready to go, but I couldn't find a glass dish, because how we learnt to do it is you prepare it and then you dye it and then you put it in a glass dish, Pyrex dish with glad wrap over it, and you microwave it to set it. Couldn't find a glass dish that would fit my microwave that would be the right size. And I know this is a cake one with the middle in it, but I think the hank would sit round there. So my sister-in-law found that. She got that at the op shop for me. So I'm all ready to start dyeing, but I'm going to do it in the spring outside. I've got a little house. I don't really want to be doing dyeing inside, especially with my sight challenges. You can imagine splatters and splashes up the wall. God, my partner would have a coronary. So it's something that I'm going to really look forward to doing, and I've been picking up all these neat tips and ideas. In fact, one idea was, and I can't wait to do that one. So you know when you roll a hand cup on a Swift and it sits in a nice cake, so they use a turkey baster and they get dye and they squeeze it into the cake and it self-stripes in a motley sort of way. Oh, it's another one. So I'm really, really looking forward to doing some dyeing. So that's my mission, is to learn to spin for when I retire, which is a few years away, but sort of kind of start myself getting into it if I can. And some dyeing this spring, dyeing wool this spring, so that I can knit the colours I want to knit and things like that. And pardon me, I have saved up some considerable amount of money to spend at Knit August nights in 2 weeks' time. So I've got enough money, I think, my goal is to buy, I just fancy a cardigan, is to buy something for a cardigan, another jumper, a shawl, possibly some sock yarn, but I'm not going to go up, just one. So I'm trying to go with it, some intention on what I'm going to buy, because I've just got this feeling I know what I'm like. I'm going to get into this place with all of these fantastic wools and indie dyers, and I'm going to have a brain fart and come home with a heavy credit card and a loaded car. But if I do, I do. Hey ho. It's my passion, and I'll do what I want. It's my passion, and I'll spend if I want to. Anyway, have a great rest of the day. I will speak to you after Cairns and let you know where I'm at. I have a feeling that my anchor will be a FO. I think my Caitlin Hunter will still be pottering along, and possibly I'll be on for another pair of socks. I'll catch you then. Bye for now. Enjoy the spring if you're in spring. Enjoy the winter if you're in winter.